Hello and welcome to VistaTalks, interesting discussions with interesting people from all around the world. I'm your host, Priscillia Charles, and I'm delighted to be joined today in Studio 2 by a special guest, Allison Ferch. Hi, Allison.
Hi there. Thank you
It's
for having me.
Well, thanks for being on the show. I know you're very busy at the moment, and our audience is very, very keen to get to know you for those of them who wouldn't know you yet. So Alison, for those of you who don't know, is Executive Director at GALA. So you're very welcome, Alison. Let's move on and get on to the show. So GALA Connected is coming up 23rd of March, 23rd and 25th. 2021, first big event of the year, which Vistatec is proudly sponsoring, and with our very own Maria Jesus de Arriba Diaz on the GALA board, serving her second term. And obviously Vistatec has a long-term relationship with GALA that we're delighted. So tell me about the event, because you must be so busy at the moment. And I know that the theme this year is Revolutions Unfolding, how digital acceleration is impacting the global language industry. So I'm really curious about the theme, the event. Tell me everything.
Sure. Well, first of all, let me say thank you to Vistatec for supporting the event and being a networking sponsor. We appreciate it. The event is our second virtual conference. The first was last September. It's going to be 3 days of sessions and networking, and then another half day of product demos. Lots of networking, I should say, and that's one of your prerogatives actually as a networking sponsor, is to run additional networking activities. So people will enjoy connecting with their peers around the world. Everything's recorded in our virtual conferences because time zones can be an issue. We had in our first conference some attendees from Asia. It was the middle of the night for them, and they were hardcore. It was impressive. So we do record everything. The theme is a reflection of where we find ourselves now. I think everybody has acknowledged that digital acceleration is a reality. The pandemic definitely made things go faster. I would say, revolution is a little bit hyperbolic, compared to other industries. I would say the global language industry has maybe felt less affected in terms of the rapidity of the change.
Yeah.
Yet there's been lots of change and adaptation happening, and we wanted to explore that at the conference.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Now I'd like to move back before pre-GALA and talk about your educational background, Allison. Very interesting, because you studied biological anthropology and then library and information science, which is obviously slightly different. So tell us about your professional journey up to joining GALA, and how did you end up in the localization industry, if I may ask?
Sure. So my undergraduate degree was based purely on interest. And frankly, I was focused on sports in college. I was competing in 2 sports, and I just really liked the topic and made it, just chose it as my major. I wasn't thinking about my future too much at all. So my first real job, I should say, after college was being the administrator for a small association in San Diego. And I enjoyed the diversity of the tasks. I enjoyed kind of developing, that jack of all trades approach. I was the only employee, so I had to do everything from soup to nuts. And in a way, GALA is similar to that.
Yeah.
After that, I moved into software technical support. That was a bit of a lark, and it wasn't for me. I took a break for a little while to start a family, have 3 kids. And so for about 5 years, I was a full-time mom and producing children. And then I felt restless again, and I chose library and information science because I liked the structure, I liked the organization, I liked the emphasis on the value of information and information literacy. I loved research. In fact, so speaking of podcasts, I have a favorite podcast, and I really think it would be my dream job to work for this podcast. It's called Stuff You Should Know.
Okay.
And anyway, the 2 guys that are the hosts pick a new topic every time, and they research it, and they share information about it. Anyway, I love learning. And so library and information science seemed to marry quite a few things that I was interested in. I did some jobs in that arena for a short while, but was finding some things lacking. So I returned to the association management sector, and falling into localization was just luck. I wasn't seeking it. I was looking for an association job, and that's how I found myself in this industry. But happily, it's a nice marriage of a lot of my, training and strengths and education.
Sounds like it, yes. And we never know, maybe a future career in podcast as well, in parallel of, of working in GALA. It's exciting. Speaking of the localization industry, I'd like to move on to your current role, which I'm sure a lot of our audience know you from. And for those of you who don't, so as I mentioned, Allison is Executive Director at GALA, the Globalization and Localization Association, the largest nonprofit organization in that industry. So you joined the organization in 2010, and you now lead the internal operations, and you're responsible for the successful leadership and management of the association. So can you take us through your journey at GALA? Because I understand you've had several positions, and it's been, 11 years now. So tell us everything.
Yeah, yep. Well, I started in 2010, as you said, as a part-time events coordinator. And it's really a familiar story, I would say, in lots of small businesses where you just grow into different roles. Mm-hmm. So I leveraged my strengths and grew into marketing and communications from events. I held on to events. And after that, just kind of kept getting more responsibility. We're a small team and a small staff, and we were even smaller back in the day. Mm-hmm. And we all had to wear a lot of hats and juggle a lot of things. And so I ended up in charge of quite a few of our programs. Mm-hmm. I was second in command, let's say, when Laura was our executive director. So when she went on maternity leave, for example, that's when I got my feet wet. But there's a show in the US called Undercover Boss, where the boss is supposed to go and do you know it?
Yeah,
they try all these different jobs at the company, and it gives them a different perspective. Well, I feel that way because I've done pretty much everything there is to do at GALA, and now as the executive director, I'm sort of overseeing that all. But like in any small organization, I still roll up my sleeves, and I like to joke that, I have to lick envelopes and file papers. Now that's not really accurate nowadays, but same idea.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, you definitely know what everyone does, and you can definitely do everything. You're proper multitasking, marketing.
That is right. Yeah.
Job.
It's, and I honestly, that suits me. The whole jack of all trades, master of none, that's me. And I like it that way. I wouldn't say that I get bored, but I do like the diversity of the challenges.
No, yeah, I understand. I'm the same. Yeah, I like, things to move, and I like, a bit of excitement, and it's quite rewarding when the event goes really well, and to be able to, touch, and experience everything. So now we're talking about GALA, and GALA serves an international community of organizations and individuals that enable communication and business across languages and cultures. So obviously here at Vistatec, we work with many leading brands that are involved in this type of work. So can you share a little bit more about the GALA mission?
Sure. So as a nonprofit association, our mandate is to support the industry and to support our members. And our mission is really based on meeting their needs. I think maybe our vision would be a better reflection of that. And I'll just read our vision. It's to be a trusted industry resource and to ensure that language, culture, and multilingual communication are indisputable priorities in global business. And that's our aspirational statement. And everything that we do is meant to align with that vision. And also, like I said before, the mission is really about delivering value to the members. So our members' place in global business is really important to us. And like I said, we want global business as a whole to understand the value that our members bring to the process, right? There's essential knowledge required to have multilingual communications and to do commerce and business and communication across borders. And that's where our members and this industry adds value. I would say on the big picture, that's what we're focused on. And then of course, all of the programs that we do and the services that we offer are aligned with that purpose.
Of course, yeah, including the events, for instance, like Gala Connected. So obviously over the past 10, well, should I say 11 years, I imagine that the association must have changed quite a lot. So tell us what has changed, or in your view, how does it differ from when you joined 10 years ago, 11 years ago, should I say?
It's primarily in the scope of well, the scope, period. And I would say that means the scope of our members, who our members are. So when I first joined GALA, only language service providers were allowed to be full members. It was another, 3 or 4 years before we welcomed in what we all call client organizations into the membership, and even a couple more years before they were considered full members with voting privileges. So the scope of who we serve and support has changed. We also recently added academic institutions to the membership, and we're still honestly learning how to serve them best. The scope also changed because the work that these organizations do, I would say, became bigger or broader. So in the early days, everybody's talking about translation. Just translation, right? We're talking about converting language from one thing to a, source to target. And that was all. And now the scope has expanded so that people are talking about, global communication. They're talking about localization. They're talking about globalization best practices and considering culture and considering these processes in UX and in product development and in marketing. So a cross-functional approach to global business. And I would say that's also changed quite a bit in the last, especially accelerated in the last few years.
Yeah, no, I suppose, yeah, just like Vistatec, which started, in 1997, with a lot of translation services and expanded to quickly to global content services in multitude of industries. So yes.
And consulting, right? You can play a consultative role, and then think about the explosion of technology and the technology companies that are part of GALA. So really, I would say our mission to support the needs of the industry and the needs of our members, that hasn't changed. It's just the scope has changed as the industry has evolved.
Okay. And obviously we're talking about GALA and the programs and the content and the events, the scope. Now I want to move on to the individuals. So through GALA's program and insightful content, individuals have become more knowledgeable. As you say, you've expanded, you've developed, what you started, and an organization grow and mature, and the global language industry makes gains in professionalism and prominence. So how have you seen this impact on the localization industry over the last decade, and also with the pandemic?
It's a really important question, because if we're not making an impact, then why bother, right? to put it simply. So I'm glad you asked about that. I think GALA makes an impact with our programs and services in a few ways. So one of the things we do is we create communities. We create learning communities or peer-to-peer networking and learning communities. And what impact does that have? Well, that enables knowledge sharing, and it helps everyone solve practical problems when we can get them together in communities. It also serves to inspire one another. Producing expert content is something that we work on. And I would say the impact there is that having access to expert content means that you're going to stay competitive in an evolving industry, and you're not going to be left behind. People say that they turn to GALA for, outlooks and trends and kind of watching what's happening in technology, for example.
Yeah. No.
The other thing that we do for our members is we provide opportunities for visibility and for self-promotion. And that has an impact because it helps companies meet their business and sales goals. So all of our programs and services that we offer, they're meant to align with, our mission and our vision, and they're meant to actually have an impact on our members. And I would say with the pandemic, communities have become even more important. And I think, everybody's hungry for connection that they're missing in all aspects of their life. And so their global professional communities have become a pretty nice substitute, right, for the real thing. And I would hope that that's a positive impact that we've had during the pandemic.
Of course, yeah. And speaking of the pandemic, how did Gala adapt, in terms of events and content and everything? Tell us, how was the year been for you?
Well, we're still adapting, truthfully. It was important to us to figure out how to keep providing member value, even though we weren't going to be able to do it in some of our traditional ways, namely in events, and not just our own, but other events that we attend or that we cooperate with others on. So right away, we put together a few online sessions. We called them the special sessions. There were 4 or 5 of them right in a row at the beginning of the pandemic, and they addressed pretty critical topics like the work from home transition and the biz ops. How do your business operations have to change right now to adapt? So we tried to deliver some content that was addressing immediate challenges. That was a temporary thing. And some of the, other changes that we had to make, obviously, were to pivot from having a live in-person conference to a virtual conference. Everybody loves the Gala conference, including us. And it was a bit of an identity crisis, is a pretty strong word, but to have to pivot. And there's also some fatigue around virtual events. And so trying to keep it fresh and interesting and keep the Gala spirit, because there's a real spirit to in-person Gala events. So we had to adapt that. I think the other thing that we did that was important was we launched some new special interest groups, which, you can think of as professional communities on a topic of interest. And so special interest groups, some new ones launched in January, and they're meant to provide a forum for our members to connect on topics that matter to them, sometimes working in working groups on deliverables, sometimes just chatting and discussing problems. And like I said, we're still adapting, right? You're based in Dublin, what the situation is in Ireland, and we're supposed to be holding our conference there in September. And nobody has a crystal ball, so we can make plans and then, cross our fingers and make some scenario plans, and we shall see.
We shall see, yes. And we really, we cross our fingers. We hope so. And so how do you see the future then of conferences and in the next 5 years? What do you see?
Well, there's more or less consensus among event professionals that we're not going to go back to the way it was. There's going to be a change that's permanent. And most people are believing that it's going to move to a hybrid model where you will have people that want to meet on site and get together and have the in-person experience. And then you're also going to have people that either can't or don't want to do that. And so there will be an increase, I think, in hybrid events where there are 2 parallel events going on. Frankly, there's the live one, and then, yes, you can live stream that content, but it's not simply a matter of, showing people what's happening on location. It's also giving the people online their own unique experience and making sure that it's valuable for them, not some kind of second-class citizen participation. And that's what we're expecting is going to be the model, and we're working toward, that it could be that's what Dublin turns out to be in the fall. We like I said, we don't know what the regulations will be, but very likely it could be a hybrid event. I don't think in-person events are going away because people love them. They love connecting. Salespeople and executives especially use those events for their goals and objectives, Yeah. I think they're going to have to think harder, about the spending and the participation, because I've had a lot of people say, wow, my event budget, that just all turned to profit. That was pretty nice. So they're going to have to think hard about the ROI. And those of us that deliver those events are going to have to think hard about how to deliver it.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. I hear you. From an events perspective, it is true. I think hybrid will definitely become a new model, and so we're talking about the pandemic and GALA obviously being known for its independent nonprofit status and global reach, making it a trustworthy source for anyone in the industry. So in this globally connected work, constantly, especially for the past year, and with the pandemic not being over, it seems more important now than ever to have trustworthy source. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, consider my background. I'm an American and have just gone through a really interesting 4 years where facts and news and trustworthy sources were redefined. So it's a hot topic for me personally. Also with my my librarian background, it's also important. Information literacy is really important, and I think it's something that's gone out the window. People are so busy; they're inundated with so much information, and there's a lot of people that don't stop to take the time to vet their resources. So I think it becomes even more important to have resources that are sort of pre-approved and pre-vetted that you can trust. And that's what GALA wants to be. We want people to know that if they come and consume our content, that it's going to be unbiased, that it's not going to be promotional, that it's going to be, egalitarian and inclusive and fact-based. We're not doing reporting, so it's a little bit different, but I think that I'd love to see a return to people applying more critical thinking when they're consuming their content. And I hope, GALA has always applied that critical eye to our own content. I think that it's just going to become more important because I don't think the glut of information is slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, agreed. And so you mentioned the website. I understand that you've recently launched so the new website, new GALA website, and also new user management system. I'd like to know a little bit more about this. I'm curious. So how did these compare to the previous ones up until end of 2020 or to early 2021? Correct me if I'm wrong. And how beneficial it is for the users, the organization, the localization organizations using it.
Yeah, well, we've got some information gathering to do and looking at analytics to see the impact, which hopefully will be positive. But just purely, anecdotally, I would say that the impact is, the information architecture is a lot better. I think people will be able to navigate the website more easily, find the things that they're looking for. We simplified it quite a bit. We worked with a consultant, a UX consultant, to help us create an information architecture that would be friendly to both industry insiders and those that are outside seeking information about the industry. So, basic information. And then the engine that's underneath it. So for the nerds who care, we have a Drupal website, and then behind it, we have an association management system, which is new. Before, it was 100% custom developed on Drupal, which is okay. Same parallels in any software development. It's great when you do custom development because it's tailor-made for you and it's flexible and adaptable and you have say, but usually in terms of functionality or robustness. And so we really had to, analyze what trade-offs we were willing to make. And what's great about this is that there's so much more self-service that's available to our users. They can go in and find their invoices, request an invoice. They can sign up for events and submit content far more easily than they could before. For organizations, it means that they can manage their profile more easily. They can register multiple people for events if they want to at the same time, which is a big improvement over the last one. And then for our staff, it's a huge bonus because it's reduced a lot of our manual repetitive tasks and streamlined so many of our workflows. So like I said, it's early days. We just launched in November of last year, and so the data has to bear out what we think, but we think that it's been a positive change so far.
That's fantastic. And I want to touch on one last point before we end this interview. So GALA won a nonprofit award at the Think Global Awards 2020. It's fantastic. And we feel obviously that these awards are really important for the wider industry. So you kindly sent us a video message that was in our awards video with all the other winners. And then I remember you saying that it's lovely to have GALA's mission and efforts to be validated in this way. So can you tell us how you felt when you learned that the GALA was winning the nonprofit award?
Yeah, awards are funny things, you know. I think public validation that you're doing a good job it's really nice, and it's not something that happens all that often. And in my case, I have an amazing staff, like really truly amazing team. I'm so lucky, and everybody should be so lucky. I know that they do fantastic work, and the board is, oh, they're so committed, and they have a great deal of expertise and real passion for the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I know all of these things, right? I can see it. But then to have a trusted and respected organization, or a panel of people, really, of experts, agree that we're doing the right thing and we're doing it well, that takes that validation to another level. And it's just so appreciated.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Allison. We're delighted to have you on the show today. And just before we end this interview, one last question. What's on the horizon for you for GALA in 2021? And is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today? Maybe, you know, a secret project that you'd like to share today, just because of this interview?
Okay. So on the horizon for 2021, let's see. Well, it's in my mind, a year of change, and a year where we're adapting, and we're going to do another virtual conference in March. So we're quite focused on that right now, and on the preparations. We're announcing the program this week. Registration's open. Obviously, I mentioned Dublin. That's a challenge, and none of us, like I said, has a crystal ball. So that's going to be a big one. The special interest groups, we want to grow those and see those turn into successful programs. They're off to a great start. We need to reinvigorate our work in the standards arena. TAPIC was one of our big initiatives, and it was quite quiet in 2020 for obvious reasons. And so we're looking to kind of reinvigorate standards work, in particular technical interoperability standards. You know, the other thing that we're constantly working toward is just growing our reach and evangelizing the work that our members do to the greater business community. So reaching some of the allied professionals, let's call them, which isn't as easy as, well, you probably know that better than anybody. It's not as easy as you would like it to be. So yeah, 2021, it's already February, good grief, but here we are, here we go. We're excited for it. It's an important year. We need to do well, and we love to have the continuing support of Vistatec. So thank you for everything that you guys do, and also just the general support from our members and engaged volunteers. Thank you.
Course. Well, thank you so much, Allison. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm sure you know, our audience is really excited to see the interview published. So yeah, that'll be in a few days' time, and it's already the end of today's show with Allison Ferch, Executive Director at GALA. So please make sure to tune in again soon to see or listen to our next VistaTalks show, where we'll be discussing more interesting topics with interesting people from all around the world.
Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you. Bye.